thank you for inviting me today. It's a real pleasure to be here. Education is perhaps the single most important activity in any society. Apart from imparting knowledge to future generations, it shapes who we are. In fact, most of the top scientists I meet have one thing in common. They can all tell you the name of the teacher who inspired them to pursue a career in research. In 2014, the Royal Society produced a report that set out our vision for education for 2030. That vision was for a new educational system that places emphasis on vocational and academic learning across a broad range of subjects, including science and maths, through age 18. My view is that all children deserve an engaging and rounded education that supports academic achievement, but also develops the skills, knowledge, and qualities needed to flourish in life, learning, and work. Now, if that description sounds familiar to you, it's because I've taken it word for word from Whole Education's own statement of intent. That view goes well beyond those of us in the room. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a business forum at the Royal Society where Carolyn Fairbairn, the Director General of the CBI, said the same thing. And recently, Robert Halfon, Chair of the House of Commons Education Select Committee, has also spoken out on the same topic. So it appears that this view is gathering momentum. Businesses, universities, politicians, and of course teachers can be a powerful force for ensuring that our educational system meets the needs of the 21st century. And many of those people also have a strong personally vested interest because they're also parents. We need to acknowledge that our lives are changing and we need education to change too. We want our young people to be able to get good jobs and employers to be able to hire the people they need in the future. We want future generations to be able to fully understand the potentials and pitfalls of new technologies, such as gene editing, the use of data and AI, and the need for low-carbon energy. We need to make sure our schools and colleges are teaching the skills we need. When it comes to jobs, the market has always changed, but we're facing a new wave of change driven by technologies such as artificial intelligence. Some jobs will change, some will be lost altogether, and there'll be many new jobs in industries that don't even exist yet. Businesses need employees with a broad range of skills and experience that can help them to creatively adapt to a rapidly changing and technology-rich world. And I was just reminded, as an aside, of the children here who has had quite different aspirations for what they want. But the thing to keep in mind is that those aspirations can change. I mean, when I was their age, I certainly wasn't sure I wanted to be a scientist. I think I wanted to be a writer, for example. But, things changed. So in future, people will need a much more flexible education than the current A-level system. A-levels have been around since 1951, and other than the occasional brief flirtation with broadening their scope, they've maintained their focus on a small number of subjects. A lot has changed since 1951. The Queen was still a princess. Less than 1 in 10 households in the UK had a TV, and those who did could only watch one channel. Bill Gates and Steve Jobs were not born, and I doubt that Mark Zuckerberg's parents were even born. So today, our A-level system is one of the narrowest upper secondary systems in the world. And it's getting narrower, with the average number of A-level qualifications per student now down to 2.7. Now, A-levels may have seemed to have served us well in the past, producing many great artists, writers, entrepreneurs, and scientists. But it's not clear that left unchanged, they're appropriate for the future. Nor is it clear that without change, we'll be able to compete in an increasingly global economy. In the future, given the rapid pace of technological change and disruption, the average person is likely to change careers several times in his or her life, often requiring retraining in a completely new field. To be adaptable and adequately prepared for change, our children will thus need to leave school with a broader range of skills. And that means an increasingly rounded education all the way through the end of school. Forcing them to narrow the range of subjects they're studying will also narrow their skills and options at age 16. This is not giving them the best start. I'm a scientist, so you would expect me to say that everyone should study science and maths through age 18. But I also believe that they should study subjects like English, history, geography, modern languages, and the arts as part of a new style of education that's available to everyone. We enormously forget technical skills. History and geography provide context to our current situation. We all know that we need context in the situation as of the next month or so. And anyone who's read the dreary and nearly unintelligible prose in a typically peer-reviewed scientific journal will realize that most scientists could have benefited enormously by continuing to study English instead of giving it up at age 16. A narrow approach to education is producing students who, for example, are entering higher education without the necessary skills required for independent learning and research, or the ability to write and communicate. There are those who worry that specialization is needed to ensure the depth of knowledge needed to succeed. However, we have evidence that breadth and depth are not incompatible, and we do not need to sacrifice breadth for the sake of depth. Sacrifice breadth, but depth for the sake of breadth. Moreover, education is not just the learning of facts. It is just as important to learn the skills that you'll need later in life: research and experimentation, teamwork, problem solving, and the ability to write and communicate well. These skills are not exclusive to any subject. We know that schools are not exam and job factories. Teachers have the ability to inspire a love of learning that can stay with people throughout their lives. Teaching young people how to learn and when to seek new skills is a vitally important part of education. In the current system, there are pockets of young people who are getting the broader education that will prepare them for the best jobs in the future. While the average young person is studying for 2.7 A levels, you're more than twice as likely to be studying for 4 or more A levels if you're a student not eligible for free school meals. You're more than 3 times as likely to be studying 4 or more A levels if you're at a private or grammar school rather than a comprehensive. And you're more than twice as likely to be if you live in the southeast compared to the northeast. Sadly, all this is entirely predictable. Pockets of success for the wealthy elite are not good enough for a country to prosper. So change is required, but change is difficult. Although A levels have changed little since 1951, there have been endless tinkering with elements of the system. I'm sure that some of you will roll your eyes in exasperation at yet another person calling for more change to the education system. I also understand those who are tired and skeptical about calls for change. However, I feel that momentum is now building behind creating this sort of system that best prepares young people for life and for the good jobs of the future. What I want to see is not change for change's sake or because of ideological dogma. What I want, nor is it a sense of it was good enough for me and that, being a good decision, a basis for good decision making. The world is changing rapidly and education needs to keep up. And what we need is evidence-based and guided by giving our children the best start in life. That's the sort of change we need. Behind that momentum, there's consensus. We will need teachers, employers, universities, parents, and the government to work together. Top-down implementation will also not work. We'll need a consensus that can deliver change from the grassroots. Teachers are worried. The National Education Union has raised concerns about the narrowing of options available to students. They've highlighted the decoupling of AS levels from A levels. The lack of resourcing has forced many schools and colleges to restrict the range of subjects they teach. Kevin Courtney, the union's general secretary, has said that heading towards qualifications which enable flexibility between vocational and academic pathways at the end of full-time education is a sensible and welcome suggestion and more suitable for modern times. Businesses also understand how jobs are changing and what skills people will need to succeed in those jobs. In a report in November, the CBI stated that education and skills are consistently at the top of the priorities of the 190,000 businesses they represent. As they say, the reason for this is clear. Education is the #1 driver of productivity, business, and economic prosperity. The good news is that 4 out of 5 businesses expect to increase the number of high-skilled roles over the coming years. But worryingly, 2/3 are concerned there will be a lack of sufficiently skilled people to fill them. Employers know what they want, and it is not very narrow academic knowledge. Nearly 3/4 of businesses say they prefer a mixture of academic and technical qualifications, or that they view all qualifications equally. Some research we've done suggests that parents are also in a mood for change, with more than half of those surveyed believing that young people should be encouraged to study a broader range of subjects than they currently do. Interestingly, improving work experience, maths, and digital skills are top priorities for parents. Parents are also worried about the balance between success and pressure and how that may affect the mental health of young people. Some believe that in reforming the A-level system, we might also look at the need for GCSEs as an additional source of pressure at a time when most people are no longer leaving education at age 16. Parents also worry about the flexibility needed to meet varied needs and preferences. All of these things must be addressed in any review of the current system. That change will not come easily, nor will it be cheap. Teachers will be crucial to success, but we will need more of them with specialist skills and will need to consider the resources they will need. And here, new technologies play a big part. There will also be resistance to change from those with a particular attachment to A-levels. A recent leader in the Times stated that the A-level is a good exam for many. Perhaps our wealthy elites were well served by the current system in the past, but we need to be thinking about all of our young people and their future. There is momentum for change, and we need that change soon. Perhaps, hopefully, not later than in the next 10 years. Our children need to leave education with a broad and balanced range of interconnected skills they will need to flourish in a changing world of work. And I think all this should start with a review of post-16 learning in the next Parliament. And that's what really our goal is to try and get government to initiate a review of post-16 education and have the various sectors contribute to it. Thank you very much.